Welcome to the Earth Your Wild podcast, brought to you by Reuserbox, providing a better way to buy cardboard boxes. We're your hosts, Jack and Ellie.
This is the podcast where we talk to industry experts and change makers to try to answer the question, how do we make our businesses better for people and the planet? So today we're chatting to Sharon Foster from Biotech 4. Biotech 4 is one of the leading anaerobic digestion operators in the UK, transforming food waste into clean, green energy. They process approximately 1/3 of the UK's commercial food waste, while offering advice to businesses on how to reduce and recycle their food waste. In 2023, they processed over 600,000 tonnes of food waste and generated over 296,000 megawatt hours of green energy. Thanks for joining us today, Sharon.
Thank you for inviting me.
Strong intro, Ellie.
Yeah, thank you for covering a lot of numbers there as well.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Thanks for joining us. Do you want to get started, Jack?
Yeah, I was saying before we started, I was really keen to understand what anaerobic digestion is and kind of like why is it important, and also maybe like how does it relate to people out there, because it's quite a big word for me anyway.
Yeah, it's difficult to say, it's difficult to spell, but it's quite a simple process. It kind of, if you break it down, and part of what we do within the business is talk about what we do. So whether that's from school children right through to customers, local authorities, and on the education side, people are looking at further education as well, so degrees and diplomas, etc., in renewable energy. But essentially, anaerobic digestion is a really similar process to the human body. So we put food into our mouths, we chew it, we consume it, it goes down into the stomach, it digests, and pretty much like our tanks and machinery, it burps and farts, a bit like humans, for want of better words. And what we do is we capture that gas as part of the process and turn it into gas and electricity. And the byproduct of that whole process is a liquid digestate or a nutrient-rich biofertilizer, which is spread onto fields local to each one of our plants to help farmers reduce their use of chemical fertilizers on the land. So it's a kind of really nice circular process. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. We take food waste from about 1/3 of the commercial sector in the UK and local authorities, process that through our anaerobic digestion process. Told you it wasn't easy to say. And create clean, green energy.
Yeah. Cool. So it's kind of like mimicking how the human body breaks down food.
That's it.
In a big factory somewhere with all of the food waste, and it's making fertilizer out of the food waste. And did you say it makes like the I think you referred to it as burping and farting.
Yes.
Is that like creating electricity as well, like powering like turbines and stuff, or is that?
Yep. So part of what we do, we capture methane, which is the element of gas that's produced as part of that process and part of the breakdown. There's lots of kind of technical procedures that go along through that. Anaerobic digestion breaks down into 4 parts of the process, and one of those sort of technical names I think is methanogenesis, and that's what we want to generate. We want to capture the methane and use that as part of our process. We have a series of machines, and I'm not a technical person, and I won't risk the wrath of our engineers and process operators by getting things wrong. But we use CHPs, combined heat processors, that generate that gas, turn turbines, create electricity, and that powers our process. It powers across a couple of our sites, businesses on the industrial estates as well. So my head office for the group, and my main site is Hemswell in Lincolnshire. And the process there at Hemswell Biogas powers our office, so the head office control tower, which is just across the road. And the businesses on that industrial site as well. And then excess goes into the grid, either as gas or electricity is kind of cleaned up there, captured and put into the grid. So it powers homes in the local area as well.
Amazing. Cool. So I guess traditionally, food waste was just sent to landfill. I guess a lot of it still is. Why do we need to stop doing that? What's the benefit of this process? Obviously, it produces great stuff, but what's the problem with food waste going to landfill?
Exactly that. The methane isn't captured. So it sits about 9.5 million tons of food waste is wasted every year, which is a huge amount.
Wow.
I think if we saved that, we could potentially save 8 meals a household each. So you think about the cost associated with 8 meals. That's a huge amount of not only food wasted, but actually money wasted as well. So it's really important to kind of divert that waste from going to landfill, where it just sits, rots, and then emits methane, into the anaerobic digestion process, where we can not only strip out any packaging that's associated with it, and that goes for recycling as well. And that happens at the very front end of our process, at the teeth part of the human body process, where it's kind of stripped out. That goes for recycling as well. And then the food waste generates the clean green energy as a result of that. So it's actually doing good. And our strapline is transforming food waste for good for exactly that reason. You're diverting it out of landfill and moving it to something better.
And we had another guest on. He's got a company called Toast Brewing, and they make like beer out of bread.
Okay.
So that's their way of kind of fighting food waste. But he taught us that apparently food is one of the biggest contributors to climate change. So I think it's like 1/3 of all GHG emissions actually come from the food industry. So it's obviously a really
it's a huge problem.
Yeah, exactly, a huge problem. Is it quite new technology what you guys do, or have we been doing this for a long time as a society, or?
No, I don't think it's relatively new. I mean, Biotech 4 and its kind of founding business is about 12 years old now. We've got 6 sites across the UK now, and there's a whole network of AD sites. A lot food waste. There's also agricultural as well. So a lot of farming communities use the AD process as well for different purposes, crops and slurry as well. But ours is specifically on food waste. So it's not necessarily new. It's ever changing. There's lots of new developments, lots of different ways to sort of harness and adapt what we do and the outputs of that. We have a team of experts that are kind of constantly looking at kind of refining what we do. What else can we get out of the process? How can we harness the benefits of that for both our customers and the wider communities as well, and the impact that our businesses have kind of outside of just the walls of the perimeters of our business. So providing this nutrient-rich biofertilizer to the local farming community, for example, is one way of kind of stretching beyond the confines of the business.
And is it like how does the process actually break down the food? Is that like chemicals, or does it just rot, or how does it?
Yeah, so it's in the absence of oxygen, which is the term anaerobic.
Okay.
So it's all kind of captured in sealed units and passed through. It's heated at one of the first stages up to 70 degrees to kill any nasty pathogens. And then it's kind of digested, and it sits a bit like in your stomach, and it generates those gases. And it moves through a series of tanks. And if anyone wants to kind of have a look on our website, we've got videos that show, we've got aerial shots of kind of how that looks. There's a series of tanks. We've got 3 digesters on our tanks and a huge green kind of gas bag that captures the gas that's emitted at every part of the process as well. And that sits kind of at the very end of the process, and we'll capture and then convert after that.
Oh, cool. And is it so like, can any business just kind of send food waste to you, or is it more like commercial, industrial kind of suppliers that would supply you, or how does that?
Yeah, so we don't take sort of Mr. and Mrs. Smith's food waste caddy directly in. Sometimes we do get phone calls about half a dozen eggs that need collecting, and we refer them to our smaller collectors. And we have a network of collectors that we work with across the UK that would do those smaller bin collections, for example, on local authorities as well. So they're sort of bulked up, and then those bulk loads come into us on lorries and are tipped at any one time. So in our, as Ellie said at the beginning, we process 600,000 tonnes a year on average of food waste. So we have a lot coming through our doors. But to kind of minimise carbon footprint, etc., it's very important that we utilise a good transport network. There's a lot of planning behind what our transport team, of which we have in-house, do, our haulage firm, to make sure that we're doing less frequent runs, that we've got full transport vehicles coming in. There's a real technical process around sort of lorries weigh in as they come in over our weigh bridge, so we know exactly how much we have coming in to our food waste reception hall. They weigh on the way out as well to check that it's all balanced. It's all a real kind of refined process, lots of numbers involved, and real fine balance of kind of what we put in. And we do take a huge variety of food waste, whether that's solid or liquid. So oils and fats, for example, dairy food waste, factory runoff. So when production lines are washed down, we take the wash off as well as part of the liquid. Chocolate, pet food waste, bread, you name it, pumpkins. When you come and visit the site, you can have a look in the pit, which is like a giant brown mess, essentially. It doesn't smell particularly nice, but there's a huge variety of kind of food wastes in there.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think it's brilliant, and food waste upsets me because it makes me feel bad, even when I throw food away, because I think it's made such a huge journey to get to my house, and then if it gets thrown away, I feel really bad. But at least what you're doing is obviously preventing that later environmental damage caused when it rots.
Yeah.
Are you able to measure the methane that you capture, so that you can say how much you've helped to reduce the emissions of that?
Yes, I couldn't quote you any of those stats.
No, that's okay.
We have got them, yes. And we do reporting for our customers as well. So actually they know, the tonnage that they send us, what that converts to, and kind of breaking it down to something completely simplistic is just recycling, even just a small thing. So a banana skin, for example, recycling that generates enough electricity to charge a mobile phone twice.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? Because it does make you feel so bad. Like, that's cool. Because I think like there's a lot of pressure as well put on consumers to not waste food, and there's a lot of kind of we're kind of told it's all our fault as consumers, but food waste goes right along the system, doesn't it? A lot happens at the farm, in the process at factories. So you said yourself you work with a huge range of clients, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. For example, in 2023, we worked with a coffee pod manufacturer, and we recycled 500 tons of coffee pods in that year, and that generated enough electricity to power 4,500 coffee pod machines. Wow. So there's a real variety of stuff that comes in. We can take tea bags, banana skins, right through to kind of factory clear outs for seasonal changes, Christmas, Easter, etc. Problems with branding or manufacturing or contaminated stock, they come in as well. So yes, it's a real range, and actually we can cope with the majority of food wastes. We are authorized and regulated by a number of different kind of regulatory bodies, and Hemswell takes category 3 waste, which is very different to kind of some of the others. So there's a whole range of kind of waste codes, as we call them, within that kind of range of food waste that we can take. And where we can't take food waste, we have a number of partners that we work with where we can redirect that to make sure it's always going to the right kind of purpose and right area for its treatment.
And you were saying, or Ellie was saying in her intro, that you guys take about 1/3 of all the UK's commercial food waste. So if this is one of the best ways to get rid of food waste, like how much is going to an anaerobic digestion plant, and how much is still going to kind of like landfill and other methods? Do you know roughly? Is it, how close are we to kind of, tackling the problem?
I think there's still a long way to go. Long way to go. A lot more businesses now with regulations that are coming in, with more emphasis on sustainability. A lot more of this is in focus. So there are new roles being created. There are sustainability teams. There are kind of recycling heroes, all of which we would encourage to talk to us or partners or other AD providers, and use our industry expertise and insight to kind of understand where they can help reduce food waste within their either commercial food waste processing, manufacturing processes, or even down to hospitality, education, etc. Our team of experts have kind of got a huge range of knowledge in terms of offering really simplistic solutions sometimes, or sort of complicated additional processes to help streamline those businesses to become more environmentally friendly, sustainable, and in turn profitable, to reduce their wastage.
Because I guess looking at the waste hierarchy, we should look to, obviously reduce waste that's being produced first.
Yes.
But, and I think like apps like Too Good To Go are amazing. Like, I guess people
Brilliant,
might be
yes.
saying, well, why can't people just put it on Too Good To Go or things like that? But I think when the scale of the problem is so huge, which I think it is, and food, I guess you have such a short period of time to use it, don't you?
I think that's the thing. And I think WRAP, the organisation WRAP, do some great work in terms of myth busting as well. So actually a lot of packaging now is removing best before dates. And so you use the kind of sniff, smell, taste approach. I guess very much like our grandparents probably did back in the day. Things like buying more frequently rather than doing sort of big bulky shops. Buy what you need, stick to the list. When we go to exhibitions, we've got some recycled tote bags that we take with a message on the side: stick to the list, kind of only buy what you need, make sure you're reduce, reuse, recycle. We follow the food waste hierarchy in kind of all that we do. So actually what we prefer to take into our reception halls, which is what we call the kind of warehouses where we receive the food waste, is unavoidable food waste. So actually once it's gone through the food waste hierarchy, if it can't be reduced, reused, or recycled, or it can't go to animal feed, for example, sort of bread, etc., could go to animal feed, and it can't go to charities like FareShare, who we work with, to redistribute. It can't go on apps like Too Good To Go, which is brilliant. And I noticed the other day that they've just included pet food in their Too Good To Go kind of pickups and deliveries as well, which is really good, because we also take some pet food into what we do as well. So yes, we'll follow that food waste hierarchy, and we will offer solutions if actually we don't think the best place for it is AD. We will offer kind of solutions higher up the food waste hierarchy before it gets to us. But that is for unavoidable food waste, and then we make sure we transform that for good.
And is it like what's the kind of the biggest challenge in your industry right now, do you think, out of interest, if there is one?
Oh, there's probably lots, and probably mine are very different from sort of anyone else you would talk to within the business as well. I think probably education would be key. Part of what we're doing in line with new legislation that comes in, so from March the 31st this year, all businesses that employ over 10 people are going to have to recycle waste separately in separate streams, and food waste is one of those streams. So educating people about what they need to do, who they need to talk to, and how they will do that, and then what happens to it once it kind of gets to us or another AD provider, is key. We're doing lots of work with local authorities, because as of next year, so 2026, local authorities will be recycling food waste on behalf of households. So you and I will have food waste caddies in our kitchen. So Ellie and I will not feel guilty every time we scrape something into the bin. If you don't have a dog.
Do you know what? I was thinking of getting chickens, so maybe I don't need to get chickens anymore.
Yeah, you could get chickens still as well. But yeah, I think, and particularly for me working in this industry as well, I do feel incredibly guilty anytime anything goes into the bin, and I'm much more mindful. So over the last 5 years, I'm much more mindful in terms of trying to do that, reduce, reuse, recycle, freezing stuff. Over Christmas, I was quite poorly. And so we didn't get through the amount of food that I'd prepped and bought for Christmas. So actually a lot of that is now still in the freezer. Vegetables that didn't get used, just chopped up and frozen and ready to go afterwards. So it's a change of mindset for a lot of people as well. Even down to sort of the introduction of another bin for some people is going to be a challenge, adding to what they already have to put out. But I think if you've got the education at the forefront of that, and to demonstrate the real benefit that recycling food waste has, I think it will make it easier in a lot of cases. Changing legislation is another challenge. Funding, I think, for the AD industry and renewables overall is challenging. There's always a lot of focus on wind and electric and solar, etc. But AD seems to get overshadowed sometimes as well, so that's a bit of a challenge. So making sure that our name is still out there, and the benefits of AD across the UK and wider.
Yeah, I really hope that this introduction of food waste collections might. I don't know if I try and be optimistic, but I'm hoping that it will help people to recycle better, because even at work, I find it's where, you know, we try and everybody that we work with at Reuse a Box, you know, does, you know, think on the same level, and we try and recycle, and I still find that people aren't recycling properly. So, you know, things are covered in food waste and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. Do you think local authorities will manage to get households to separate appropriately? Because I
Yeah, so
think
there
there's
are lots.
Sorry, carry on.
That's right. There are lots of local authorities that are actually already doing this across
Really?
the UK. So they're already kind of ahead of the curve. So they've got those processes in place. They've been working for a number of years in delivering that for them. And what we're doing now as part of this new legislation change is working with local authorities. For example, Lincolnshire County Council will be bringing their food waste into our Hemswell site from next year. So we're working with them at the moment on education pieces for residents, for schools. We're working with Greater Lincolnshire LEP to work on education pieces for schools as well. So it's key, I think, to kind of get that understanding at a younger age as well, and the benefits of recycling and it becoming a normal behaviour. We're probably all very much used to kind of the introduction of recycling in the last sort of 10 or so years. Whereas school children, if they're recycling their food scrapings off their plates at lunchtime into a food waste bin, and they understand where that's going and what good that does, it's become a much easier behaviour change. So there's a range of challenges across the kind of population, I guess, in terms of changing behaviour of people that have always done it this way, and the younger generation that will actually perhaps find it easier and know the benefits. But, you know, having a young son myself, knowing that you're making a change to kind of do a little bit better for the future, and the place that you're leaving them to live in once you move on, it can't do anything but good, I think, to kind of educate and try and impress those processes on people. So yeah, I'm hoping, every little helps. Change for good.
Yes, definitely.
What's the what is the best way to educate, let's say, young people, for example? Like what's your how do you do it? What works? Just out of interest.
So we did something with a local primary school in October last year, and it was around recycling pumpkins. So end of October, the benefits of recycling their pumpkin, but also kind of hands-on practical stuff. So once they'd kind of created their jack-o'-lantern and they'd got the inners out of it, save your seeds. You can either kind of roast them gently and put them into salads or soups, or you can dry them out and plant them and create new pumpkins for next year, kind of being a bit more sustainable. Also recipes around pumpkin muffins, pies and soups as well. So use those innards, don't waste them. We went in and did an assembly for the school children and talked to them about the benefits of food waste, and did our kind of primary level AD process. So we talked about burping and farting with them, and a big kind of sort of diagram of simplistic AD process was using the human body. So we talked kind of in detail about how that works on our site, which was just up the road from their school, and where the food waste goes in when the lorries drop it off, and what the teeth do to remove the packaging and break the food down, and what your tummy does, etc. So we kind of did it at quite a basic level, but overall kind of part of what we do. Oh, and we did take those pumpkins back into our site and recycled them after the event as well, so nothing went to waste, and the children loved it. But that's a big part of what we do, education kind of at every level, and I think that's key. Is part of what we do is we try and get out and about and talk in as many places as possible. So, you know, industry publications, industry events, but actually just local press as well. Local schools and businesses, and we harness the power of our team and the kind of knowledge of our teams to talk to individuals and businesses, and kind of the key sustainability people within certain businesses, to help them understand the benefits both environmentally and financially for their businesses.
Do you think the biggest challenge then is going to be trying to get older people, I don't know if that's the right word, older people to be sorting their kind of food waste? Do you think
Yeah,
like
I think
when
so. And perhaps switching people from composting, so using their
yeah
food waste as compost in the garden, which on smaller scale can help, but also once it starts rotting, it kind of emits methane as well.
yeah
Yeah,
So
I've
yeah, I
always
think
wondered
changing
about
behaviours.
that. Yeah, because I think people kind of felt like there was nowhere to go with their food waste. So, like I mentioned chickens, they were thinking like, what do we, because we all produce a small amount of food waste, don't we? Even
Yeah,
if we're really careful. So they thought, maybe chickens, maybe I'll do some gardening, compost. But yeah, like I've always wondered if, yeah, because it's obviously still out there rotting, isn't it? And does it, maybe it attracts rodents? I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I guess there's all sorts of kind of risks around doing that, and I'd like to think that once the implementation for households is in and up and running, that actually most people will take note of its benefits. It's a really easy process to do as well. Like you say, I think a lot of people think, oh, I don't have food waste, but actually, eggshells, crusts, banana skins, tea bags, coffee pods can all go in.
Yeah, I think if you have children as well, then you do, because children are picky, and
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately, it happens.
The beans have touched something else and they won't eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Is there? You might have touched on this earlier, but is there? So, do you accept food waste from businesses, or is there like a minimum size of business?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'd kind of hark back to the smaller collectors that we would work with. So actually, if we did get an inquiry that was perhaps too small, we would just make sure that that was picked up by one of our smaller collectors, who would then bulk that waste in a waste transfer station. And when there's enough of it, they bulk it up and they bring it into us in a larger
yeah.
quantity.
Well, like we use Biffa at our office, for
Yeah.
example. So I know next year I think we're going to be getting the different bins, for like food waste, and it's not
Yes.
just food, is it? It's like other stuff they're going to be categorizing more
Yeah.
like, is it like
Your
glass and
paper
metal and
and
yeah,
plastics and recyclables,
yeah,
and then your residual waste as well. So yeah, there'll be a number of bins, but actually, when you think about the good that that's doing, and that they're all going into their own specific recycling stream and being transformed for good in their own kind of capacity, each one of those businesses are doing the right thing and taking it through to a recycled element rather than going into food waste. Yeah, all of those are good. And yeah, Biffa are one of the people we work with. We work with a number of collectors across the UK.
yeah. And to be fair, like I think a lot of businesses, might be like, oh god, is this like another expense or something? But like we use Biffa, and it's like 12. I think it's like £12 a week for that's for what they called like 300 litre wheelie bins,
Yeah.
like the big ones. It's quite cheap, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's certainly cheaper than when I used to have to take it home and put it in my recycling bin. So
Exactly. Or you have to have it kind
easier,
of elsewhere. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So it's not that bad.
Yeah, I guess we just have to ensure that everyone recycles properly. That's my biggest like bugbear, that it's
Yeah, exactly. It's back to education again,
Yeah.
is understanding why,
Do
how.
you get contaminated food waste? As
Yeah,
do you have a problem with that?
What do you mean by
Well,
contaminated?
do you get like packaging in it, or is that not a
Yes,
problem for
yeah.
you?
well, that's the teeth phase, remember?
Oh, I see.
That is the teeth phase, yeah.
Yeah.
So majority of packaging we can deal with, and it's stripped out even before it goes into the AD process, and then that is sent off for separate recycling as well. We don't tend to like glass. We can deal with that at one of our sites, but we don't tend to like that in. But packaging, so sort of bread wrappers, for example, if you've used your food waste caddy and you've lined it with an empty bread bag, that's fine. That's stripped out kind of at the first stage as well. And then we have various stages through the process that will kind of strip out any residual elements of that as well, so that when it gets to the digestate that comes out the back end of the process, because that's spread onto land, and because we're monitored by DEFRA and various other agencies and regulators, we have to make sure that what we're putting back onto land has literally no plastic in it at all. So it's gone through a really fine sort of sieve, for better words, so there's nothing bad going back onto the land. And our farmers only spread within certain spreading times as well, because it's a liquid biofertilizer. So they spread within certain windows of the year to make sure that it goes straight into the soil and doesn't have any runoff, etc. So there's lots of sort of rules and regulations around what we do. but they're absolutely kind of right to be in place, and we follow them. And actually, they all do good as part of this overall process.
Is there any kind of like advice or anything that you'd want to say to any listeners?
I guess I think I put in some of the notes I'd made was that there's a famous supermarket phrase of every little helps, and I think I've probably already mentioned that once. Is everybody doing their bit, kind of however big or little, is going to help. And I think as we're all aware, the winds that are going to hit us this weekend, the winds we had before Christmas, the way the planet's warming, I don't think anybody really has a choice not to kind of do these things that are really simple. Like, it's diverting plate scrapings from one bin to a food waste caddy, and essentially it's possibly easier because your food waste caddy is going to be small and probably sit on a worktop, so it's actually easier once your plates are at the side of the sink to do that. So I'd like to think that will change. I'd like to think the regulations that are coming in sort of March 31st this year and next year, again, will have a significant change as to how that happens, and that everybody kind of gets on board with that and sees the benefit. And actually, we would welcome kind of organisations, if they're looking at these changes, to get in contact with us if they need a hand. Have a look at our website, look at the process. And for some larger organisations, we've hosted a series of local authority tours around our sites as well to kind of walk them through the process, and so to help their understanding of that when they're going into schools, for example, to talk about the benefits of food waste recycling, or putting together business case studies, for example, within the business as to why these things need to happen. So we'll support on the education side of things as well as delivering on the recycling side as well.
And we always kind of like to end on the same kind of questions. So we always like to ask people where they see the world in 10 years, but often we get a kind of where they'd like to see it and where they think it'll actually be.
I'll stay positive and just say where I would like it to be. And I think that I'd like to think we've onboarded food waste recycling, harnessing the benefits of that across the UK, that we have more renewable energy businesses within the UK, and we're using that kind of internally as well. So we're not having to kind of ship things over from abroad. It would be great to see, and there are some places that do it next to AD sites, for example, use the energy that you generate to power greenhouses to grow our own fruit throughout the year. So you haven't got a huge carbon footprint attached to blueberries that land in your supermarket shelf from Peru. Actually, if you can have them from Norfolk or Lincolnshire, that would be so much better. So I'd like to think that we've made some significant progress there. Our recycling habits are good. Our children are well educated and are passing that on. And generally that we're in a better place as a planet.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
I really hope this sector continues to grow, because I think, like we said at the beginning, it's not something that is talked about that much, is it? Which
no,
is crazy, really.
we are often overlooked.
Yeah,
we're doing our very best to kind of make sure we're putting our news stories out there. That's a big part of what we do as a marketing team and as a business, is to kind of put out insight and thought leadership pieces and just little bits about what we've done. For example, I did an article a couple of years ago about how we've made some small changes to our website just to reduce the carbon that each page visit produces, just by simple things like optimizing the content on there, reducing the number of images and videos on there, and streamlining your pages. Just little things like that. That's not recycling food waste, but actually that's also helping towards this problem that we have kind of as a wider kind of business community, county and planet, definitely. I guess.
I think stuff like that helps because you're embedding that mindset into everything that you do. We're trying to make the website low impact. We're trying to, make the anaerobic digestion plant, work as productive as possible. We're trying to sort all our waste.
Take a reusable bag with you when you're shopping. I mean, that's become a bit more norm now, hasn't it? There was sort of outrage when we were being charged 5p, 10p for a bag, but actually a lot of people now do remember to take their bags with them. So it just, I think it's just going to take time and some reminders.
Nice. Oh yeah, it was really interesting. I'm actually found it very interesting to learn about it, and I'm just so surprised that people don't know about anaerobic digestion. It's a very cool thing, actually, when you think about it.
Well, you're more than welcome to come up to Hemswell, and we'll give you a tour if you want to one day.
I do love touring factories. It's a big part of my job.
Smell, but you're more than welcome to come and have a look round and meet the team if you want to.
Oh yeah, is there a bit of a smell? I guess that comes with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, some days are worse than others, depending on what's gone in. So pet food doesn't smell particularly nice, but generally it's not too bad, and it's all contained within the big sort of garage and warehouse that it's dumped into as well. And there's a filtering system as well within there to make sure that the teams that work within there aren't impacted by that as well. There's regulations around the fact we have to have the door closed. So once the lorry's tipped, the door is then closed, so no smells escape. So it's very minimal. But yeah, some days are worse than others. So yeah, if you do come, and we could give you the heads up, Ellie, you could just stay outside a bit.
Come on a windy day.
Exactly, yeah.
We do work with a lot of like FMCG manufacturers, quite a lot of food manufacturers. So yeah, when I'm out and about on my travels, I'll start quizzing people. What you're doing with your food waste.
Do? Yeah.
Try and make sure everybody's using your route instead of like landfill and stuff.
Yeah. Well, hopefully most people are now. I mean, the environmental and the cost benefits for them. I mean, most businesses are thinking sort of cost first and environmental second, but that's all right as long as they're still thinking environmental. They go
together, don't they? So it's fine.
They're both going to be as equally as important, over the next, I guess, like 10 years. The sustainability side of things and where people are at and what they're thinking about. I should have added as well, shouldn't I, that having more sustainability champions, I guess, within businesses, or more people that are focused on having a purpose for their business and looking at kind of wider processes and what you do. Why are we still using hand towels in the bathroom, and actually we could have electric ones? Why aren't we just using towels and just washing them with everything else that gets washed? Or I think that would be quite good to have in the future, a bit more sustainability focus and some eco champions.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right. Well, I guess that's a wrap then. But yeah, it was really nice to meet you today, Sharon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both for your time.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. We hope it was truly worth your while. For more information, visit reusebox.co.uk/worth-your-while.
And if you'd like to appear on the next series of Earth Your While, please email media@reusebox.co.uk.